In this video, let's talk about angles of rotation. An angle in standard position has a vertex at the origin and one ray is on the positive x-axis. An angle consists of two rays, an initial side and a terminal side. So this is a nice picture of what they're talking about. From standard position, you start with like the positive x-axis as your one of the rays that makes up the angle, your initial side. Then you go in a counterclockwise direction, and the last spot where you end up creates like the terminal side. That's what we call standard position of an angle. Positive angles rotate counterclockwise, where negative angles rotate clockwise. And one complete rotation is 360, which is equivalent to 2 pi. So another good example of like positive angles rotate counterclockwise, and negative angles start at that standard position that we just saw and then rotate down and around, which is clockwise. So let's just try some examples here. For 300 degrees, like the picture pointed out, you want to start in standard position to create the first side of the angle. And then you want to rotate it around until you get to 300 degrees. So you think about 90, 180, 270, plus a little bit further. And I would have an angle that represents 300 degrees. So that's all you would do to draw that angle. Let's do another one. The next one says negative 150 degrees. So if I want to draw an angle that's negative 150 degrees, I need to start in standard position, but go in the negative direction. So I need to go down and clockwise, and I go 90, but not to 180, because then that would be too far. So you got to stop with about 30 degrees left and say that is an angle that is negative 150 degrees. I'm just going to scoot that over here. All right, let's look at another example. 900 degrees. So 900 degrees is more than one rotation. Think about 360 is one rotation. 360 would be another rotation. Total, that would be 720. But then we need to go 900 degrees. So 900 minus 720 would leave us with 180 degrees. So that helps us set up what we need to do. So it was positive, so you still have your standard position, but you know you need to go one rotation, two rotations, and then another 180 degrees after that. So that's how we need to draw our angle. So I need to say I'm going to go one full rotation around and another full rotation around, and then I've got to go 180 degrees. So it's going to actually look like a 180 degree angle, but then your lines that look kind of like a snail show that this is truly a 900 degree angle. It's not just 180. But speaking of 180 degree angle, we call those coterminal angles. That's a good time to show you an example of that. So 900 degrees and 180 degrees are what we call coterminal angles. They end up in the same place. They land with the terminal side in the same position, but they're not the same angle. Okay, let's look at another one. So negative 45 degrees, you have your initial side, and then you want to go negative 45. So that's just about right there in the middle of that quadrant. So that would be a good representation of a negative 45 degree angle. Notice my red marks, like those are important for you to actually draw when you're drawing angles so that someone knows what direction you're going. So I need to add an arrow right here, and I think that's all good. All right, let's look at 520 degrees. It's positive, so draw your initial side. We always draw that first, and then we're gonna go, think about, I gotta go 360 for sure. What would be left over after that? So that would be 520 minus 360. 520 minus 360 is 160. So we don't need two full rotations, obviously, because we don't have that big of an angle. But we've got to go one full rotation around and then go 160 degrees, which is not quite to 180. So you want to stop before you get back to that. Oh, let me draw that a little better. So we have our vertex, we have our initial side, our terminal side, And then notice again that 520 degrees and 160 degrees would be coterminal angles because they land in the same exact spot. So that's, again, another good example of that. We don't need our calculator for the next one, so let's get rid of that. Negative 270 degrees. So draw your initial side, but then we're going to go negative 270. So 270 divided by 90 would be 3. So think about 3 quadrants. So we go 90, negative 180. Ooh, that's crooked. So 90, 180, 270 would be right there because we had to go 3 quadrants in the negative direction. So negative 270. So if you notice that if I had gone 90 degrees in the positive direction, those would be coterminal. So negative 270 and 90 degrees are coterminal. Just another good example of that word. All right, so the rest of these examples we're going to look at together. That's enough to get you started for now.